You open ChatGPT to write a quick email. You ask for a joke or a recipe or a 5-paragraph essay for your boss. But what you don't realize is that the machine is slowly eating itself. You didn't break it. Nobody warned you. But every time an AI reads an article written by another AI, its digital brain rots a little bit more. It forgets facts. It invents words. It spits out pure, unfiltered gibberish. So what's going on? Why does feeding AI its own garbage inevitably lead to a total systemic collapse? To understand why the digital brain is rotting, you have to look at how these things are fed. Large language models are just gluttonous statistical engines. They need text, mountains of it. For the last decade, tech companies scraped the entire public internet. Every Reddit thread, Wikipedia page, and forgotten blog post was shoved into a digital wood chipper. Human text is finite. We just aren't typing fast enough to feed the next generation of algorithms. A 2022 study by Pablo Villalobos and a team at Epoch AI warned that the industry would exhaust all high-quality human language data by 2026. The tech giants hit a ceiling, the data wall. To get smarter, the models need more data. The well is dry, so the industry came up with a seemingly brilliant workaround. If human data is running dry, just let the machines make their own. They call it synthetic data. The concept is simple. You take a powerful AI, ask it to write millions of pages of text, and then use that text to train a newer, slightly smaller AI. On paper, it looks like a perpetual motion machine for the tech industry. Infinite data on demand. Zero copyright lawsuits. The executives thought they'd hacked the system. A perfectly closed loop of productivity. Cool. Mystery solved. Except physics and statistics have a nasty habit of ruining tech bro pipe dreams. You can't just clone data endlessly. The copy of a copy of a copy always degrades. This degradation has a formal name. Researchers call it model collapse. In a landmark 2024 paper published in the journal Nature, a team of researchers from Oxford and Cambridge, led by Ilia Shumailov, decided to test this closed loop. They wanted to see exactly what happens when you feed an AI exclusively on the vomit of another AI. They started with a clean language model trained on human data. Then they asked it to generate text. They took that AI-generated text and fed it to a second-generation model. Then they repeated the process. Generation after generation, the machines were locked in a room together, forced to learn about the world entirely from each other. The results weren't just bad. They were catastrophic. By the 5th generation, the AI was struggling. By the 9th generation, it had completely lost its mind. Shumailov's team found that early generations would just subtly misunderstand the context of a prompt. But soon, the models started dropping facts entirely. Then, they forgot basic sentence structure. Eventually, the output mutated into a bizarre stream of unrelated nonsense. In one famous test, a model was asked about medieval architecture. After a few generations of synthetic inbreeding, the AI started spitting out rambling paragraphs about jackrabbits. The machine had completely forgotten what buildings were. It just hallucinated a random furry mammal and stubbornly insisted that jackrabbits were the foundation of human society. Total cognitive failure. To understand why this happens, you have to understand how an AI views human language. It doesn't actually know what a word means. It just maps probabilities. Human data is messy and weird. It's full of rare quirks, odd slang, and strange ideas. In statistics, these weird outliers are called the tails of a bell curve. When an AI is trained, it naturally gravitates toward the center of the curve. It craves safety. It stays average. It routinely ignores those rare tails to avoid making a mistake. So, the text it generates is mathematically stripped of all human oddity. It's the most boring, most probable version of a sentence possible. When you train a new AI on that boring output, things get worse. The new model takes an already narrowed bell curve and narrows it even further. It clips off more edges. The center gets denser and the tails disappear completely. The AI becomes aggressively average. It overestimates the likelihood of common phrases and completely deletes the concept of rare events. By the time you hit Generation 5, the model is just looping the same statistically safe gibberish over and over. It's a digital echo chamber where all nuance goes to die. The model collapses into a singularity of flat, meaningless sludge. The AI hasn't learned anything new. It's aggressively forgotten everything that made the original data useful. And here's where it gets stupid. Tech companies know this is happening, but they're doing it anyway. The public internet, which used to be the gold standard for human data, is now completely contaminated. SEO farmers are using ChatGPT to churn out millions of fake articles every day. Bot networks are flooding social media with synthetic replies. It's a tsunami of algorithmic slop. And the tech giants are blindly scraping all of it to train their next multi-billion-dollar models. They're vacuuming up their own toxic waste and feeding it right back into their flagship products. It's the digital equivalent of feeding cow meat back to cows, and we all know how that ended. Digital mad cow. You can already see the symptoms in the wild. When Google rolled out its AI overviews, the system famously advised users to put non-toxic glue on their pizza to keep the cheese from sliding off. It also suggested eating rocks for nutritional value. These weren't just funny glitches or temporary bugs in the code. They were the direct result of an AI ingesting contaminated, low-quality data and treating it as absolute truth. The internet is actively making these models dumber. The grand promise of artificial general intelligence is currently being derailed because the machines are choking on the very garbage they helped create. We thought they would elevate human knowledge, but instead, they're just regurgitating our worst mistakes. The more they read, the less they know. Which raises a different, dumber question. If the open web is ruined, how do you train the next model? The answer is pretty bleak. Tech companies are desperately trying to source artisanal, organic human data. They're paying thousands of gig workers pennies to write basic sentences, solve math problems, and explain jokes. They're trying to manually reconstruct the human internet behind closed doors in private data centers. Some companies are even striking desperate licensing deals with publishers just to guarantee that the text they buy was actually written by a human with a pulse. It's a massive, expensive step backward. We spent decades building the greatest repository of human knowledge in history, and then we let a bunch of chatbots pollute it beyond repair in less than 2 years. Now, nobody can tell the difference between human writing and synthetic slop. You can't just run a simple algorithmic filter to clean the data because these models were explicitly designed to mimic human speech perfectly. They're too good at disguising themselves. The poison is already in the groundwater. The loop is closed. As the models keep training on this endless cycle of recycled garbage, the rot will only spread deeper into the systems we use every day. Our search engines, our customer service bots, and our writing assistants are all drinking from the same contaminated well. We wanted to build a godlike machine that could know everything. Instead, we built a digital Ouroboros that's slowly starving to death. Now you know. Sorry.